All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Tyler Rucker, the creator of Mind of an Athlete, and we got a special guest here today. We got Pittsburgh Pirates player Billy Cook. What's up, Billy?
What's up, Tyler? Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to talk with you and just, have everybody get to know me and just continue getting to know you. So, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Let's get it going. All right, so growing up, what first got you into baseball, and when did you realize it could be more than just a hobby for you?
I think I've always been into baseball, courtesy of my parents. There's pictures when I was like 2 years old with just a tiny red bat in my hand. I probably couldn't even walk. And it's pretty funny because I don't have those memories, but my parents will tell me like I'd love to go out, growing up and just any sort of baseball activity I was all in on. So I think it's always been a part of me, but especially in Little League, that was when I really took it serious and I couldn't wait just to go play baseball, whether it was with my friends, go play catch with my dad in the backyard, go play in an organized Little League game. And growing up in Texas during that time, like we played year round. And so travel ball, I was playing travel ball at 7 years old, going to tournaments. So that was a lot of fun. And then, you just kind of get better and better. And then as I got older, I realized that I was just a step ahead of most kids. And it kind of always seemed that way. And I wanted it to be that way. I always wanted to be the best on the team. And then here we are, and you're still trying to be the best on the team, but now you're trying to be on the best team in the world and win the World Series.
So, who were some players you looked up to while you were growing up?
My favorite player was Dustin Pedroia. I grew up a Red Sox fan, and he was a little different profile than me. But as a kid, I thought I was going to be a little shorter, not as tall, not as fast, whatever. And so he was like 5'9", maybe he was 5'7". I might be giving him a little with 5'9", but he was just a gritty player, played second base and he played the game so hard. He was dirty all the time. He hit for a lot of power, even with his size, kind of like a modern day Altuve, right? For people that don't know
Sure.
Pedroia. And so I was like, dude, that's what I need to do. If I'm going to be the best, like I need to play like Pedroia, and that's how I played, and I still kind of play that way. It's just a little different profile. But that's kind of who I modeled my game after, and I loved watching him play. That whole Red Sox team, 2004, 2007, when they won the World Series. I was a kid, and I would watch every game. I would go to school with my Red Sox shirt on, even if it was dirty. If they had a game, like I was like, no way, I'm not wearing this while they're in the World Series.
Man, that's funny right there. So, how would you have felt? Let's think about it. Red Sox fans. So, how'd you feel when they traded Mookie away to the LA?
Yeah, I was a little upset because I was like, dude, I know he's really good.
Right.
But again, it was when they traded him, I was not as big of a fan, I guess, because I was, as you grow up, like you kind of get your own teams that you root for, but then as you play more, you're kind of focused on yourself. And so I wouldn't say I was as big of a fan at that point, but I was like, dude, you're trading away one of your best players, and he's had a tremendous career and everything. So it's worked out for him great, and they have a good team this year, the Red Sox and the Dodgers, but yeah, Mookie, they definitely, I think, could still use him. But again, they have a good team and they got some young talent over there.
Yeah, definitely. So, how was your like high school life playing baseball and your college works? How was that for you?
Yeah. So I played all of my high school in Colorado. So that was a little change. Moved around in the military and stuff, and then my parents retired, and so we moved to Colorado. And Colorado baseball isn't the same as Texas and Virginia, Florida, wherever. It's cold most of the season. So you're playing maybe 20, 23 games if you're lucky. You got your snow outs, like you're not playing very much. And the
Right.
competition, there's some good competition, but overall it's not quite as high caliber as those warm weather states. So it was a good experience, and I was happy to play. I played varsity all 4 years, which was great. But then going into college, I knew I wanted to take baseball serious, go as far as I could with it. So I knew I had to go somewhere warm, and that's how I ended up going to Pepperdine in Malibu because I was like, I need to find some place that I can play catch up a little bit and be outside all the time. Don't have to worry about snow outs, rain outs, and that definitely helped because the weather there is perfect
Right.
almost year round. We had maybe like two games canceled my whole time I was there because of rain. So it really worked out, but that's how I ended up choosing a school like Pepperdine. Good baseball program history when I was going there, but also the weather definitely helping with furthering my career.
Would you say, okay, I want you to choose the best state for baseball?
That's tough. I think I don't know if I can choose one.
I'll
I
give you, you can
know
do two. Do two.
I would say it's probably Texas and California. I've played with a lot of kids that have been drafted, first round from Texas and from Florida, or sorry, Florida from California. And Florida, I would put third, because I've also played with a lot of first rounders from Florida. But I think it's just the weather and like the competition. Everybody, if you're really, really serious from a young age, if your parents are willing to move, like they're going to move probably to one of those three, and you're going to play against all the other kids that move there just to play sports. And a good example, I played against a kid named Cole Wynn. He's with the Rangers, and he was Gatorade Player of the Year my junior year in Colorado. Or no, it was my senior year, his junior year. He ended up moving to California. And won Gatorade Player of the Year there. And then he got drafted. I think he was a first rounder out of a good high school out there. But that was again for him. It was like he's going to take it a little more serious, move out there, and it ended up paying off. And he's been a good arm for them. But yeah, it's a good experience going out there.
100%. I agree with that. So moving into your minor league development, every player's journey through the minors is very different. What was the biggest lesson you learned about yourself during those seasons?
I think the biggest lesson, you're right, everybody's journey is different, but you're playing, 6 days a week with the same guys. It's a long season, and you just got to keep that confidence. That's the biggest thing. For me, I drafted out of Pepperdine, not the most glamorous conference to come out of the WCC, right? So I'm now playing against and with guys who were Pac-12 Player of the Year, like first round drafts, playing with one and against one at the same time. Guys, ACC, SEC, whatever. And so you kind of look at yourself and you're like, I mean, I came from a smaller conference. What do I need to do to be like these guys? And you kind of find yourself comparing early. And I kind of had to take a step back and say, look, like we're all on the same team. We all are very talented, and you got to focus on yourself and just keep that confidence internally, and not really compare to those guys because they drafted you for a reason. Like they see potential in you along with the other guys, and so kind of taking that approach helped me a lot and just never losing confidence. It's a long season. And it just gets longer. The levels as you go up, the season gets longer. And so in the big leagues, it's 162. You start out at 120. So there's 42 more games right there that you're playing if you're all the way in the big leagues. And so you got to figure out how to make that confidence last that whole season into the playoffs as well.
100%. So where did it all really start clicking for you in the minor leagues?
I would say probably double A was when it really, really clicked. And I had a good year. That was a 2020 year for me. And then, you still have the ups and downs, but just finding your identity and kind of what works for you. Not everything works for each person, right? You got to find it, and you have coaches supporting you, but you also kind of have to be your own coach and figure out what's going to help you. And so that was a year like I worked a lot with my coaches. I also took some accountability and did it on my own when something, didn't quite feel right. And I think that's when I learned it's an individual and a combined effort, right? You got to put in work on your own, but you also need to rely on the coaches that they have available. And so that definitely helped moving forward as well and figuring out what works for you. And, if somebody says, hey, try this, being comfortable saying, no, I've already tried it, it doesn't work for me. And they're receptive to that, right? But a lot of people, and I did this my first, year or two was like, hey, let me take in all this information and then I'm going to try it all. versus kind of filtering it to what I know works and what I know doesn't. But you just get that the more you play, and you're around more coaches and more players and just talking baseball and hitting and all that stuff. Like that's kind of how you filter it and figure out what your identity is as a hitter and then what you kind of leave to the side because you've already tried it and it doesn't work.
Right, 100%. I think that goes across all baseball levels for sure.
Hmm.
Like we talked about, the minor league grind's real, long bus rides, long seasons, like we said, 120 games. What really helped you stay motivated during that process, especially when you're going through your rough times?
Yeah, I think the first thing is keeping that bigger picture in mind. You're trying to make the big leagues, and once you make the big leagues, you're trying to stay there for as long as possible. And so when you're on those long bus trips, you're like, listen, it's all part of the grind, but it's going to pay off. And it kind of goes back to that confidence. Like, as I grind through this, and it's not going to be easy, every day isn't going to just be amazing, especially you're going and playing in some towns that you've never heard of, no fans in the stands, whatever. But the goal is not to just stay there, it's to keep growing and getting better and moving up levels. And so as you move up levels, like that light at the end of the tunnel, you can see it and you're like, I just got to keep going and just trusting that it'll pay off. And you can't stop working hard because everybody else is trying to get to the same spot. Um, so just keeping that in mind as well. There's limited number of roster spots on each team and you're always competing for one of them. And so it's like, even if you have a bad day, it doesn't mean you can give up because if you do, somebody else is going to pass you. And so, yeah, you always got to keep that in mind. And that's kind of what helped motivate me too, was like, I'm not the only one chasing this dream. There's a lot of other people that would love to be where I'm at in double A, in triple A. So I can't take it for granted. I got to keep going.
100%. So you started your professional career with the Baltimore Orioles organization before being traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates. What was that transition like for you?
It was interesting because we were mid game when I got traded. But it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was like a foreign thing, and this was my first time being traded. But with the Orioles and Pirates spring training, they're basically right down the road from each other. So I knew a lot of the guys already. So I got traded to the Pirates and, I said bye to all my buddies and whatever. But when I showed up in AAA with the Pirates, I knew basically the whole team just from playing against them for the last 3 years during spring training and played against them in high A and double A. So it was kind of funny. So transition wise, it was pretty smooth just because of that. But it is a little different getting traded. Brand new organization, getting to know guys on a personal level, getting to know the philosophies and all that kind of stuff was a little different, but they were very welcoming and receptive to what I had, and I was receptive to what they had, and it ended up working out great.
You ended up getting called up toward the end of the 2025 season. What was that moment like when you realized you were heading to the big leagues?
It was great. I mean, it was yeah, it was really cool. I get a call from our manager in AAA and he's just like, "Hey, you're going to the big leagues." That's a short story, but you're going to the big leagues, pack your bags and stuff, and it was great. Show up and I'm in there the next day playing, so it was a short turnaround time. I know you're going to ask who I called, and I called my parents because I was like, "Listen, it's a day game, so we just got done playing a night game Saturday.
Hmm.
It's like, hey, I got called up. It's a day game tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Um, it might have even been noon. I forget. But basically, I was like, you got to get on the first flight out if you're going to try to make this game because, coming from Colorado, there's a 2 hour time change and all that stuff. Um, and that's basically what I said. So they were excited, but then it was like, okay, how are we going to get out there? And they ended up making it, which was awesome. But yeah, it was super fun for me. I ended up driving that morning to Pittsburgh because it was going to be shorter than flying between, get on the plane, do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so the whole drive, I was just calling a couple people at a time, like, hey, just turn the Pirates game on today if you want. I got called up and I'll be playing. So getting to share that with some special people in my life was really cool.
Once you got to Pittsburgh, you were suddenly around some exciting young talent like Paul Skeens, for instance. What's it like being around guys like that every day?
It's great. He's a great guy. There's a lot of great young guys here. They love to win and compete, and that's kind of their mindset all the time. What can they do to help the team win? And it's just always about the team, and they do their part. Everyone else does their part, and the team's happy at the end. So it's a really good group to be around, and a lot of the older guys, are great mentors for those young guys and helping them develop into that elite talent that they have. And the older guys have been through it. They've been around for a while, so they know what it takes.
What's one thing about guys like Skeens or O'Neal Cruz, for instance, that people don't really see from the outside?
I mean, they do a lot of work. They do a lot of work that people don't see. They see Cruz hit 122 miles an hour. Maybe he'll hit it harder this year. Like, they see that. They see him throw 105. They see Paul going, 7 innings with 12 strikeouts, Cy Young winner, rookie of the year, but they don't see all the work behind the scenes.
Right.
And where they think is a lot of work, like there's even more that's being done. And so they earn everything that they put out onto the field. It's not just given to them, and so it's special to watch and be a part of that.
Now, have you been able to face Skeens yet or no?
I've only faced him for 2 pitches, and that was when I was with the Orioles. Back, yeah, that was I forget when that was, 2023 maybe or 24. Spring training. That's it. I've seen 2 pitches.
How did that go?
Good. I just flew out. That's
Okay.
it. Took a
Okay.
ball, flew out, and then
Anything's
it
better
was
than
over.
it's better than the K for sure.
Yeah, right.
So the Pirates made some big moves this offseason, adding on some new pieces, and it feels like the team's building something special here. What's the energy around the clubhouse right now coming out of spring training?
Yeah, we're all excited. I mean, it's going to be a fun year, and again, we love our team and who we're going to put on the field and put on the mound, and I think everybody's bought in with the same goal of winning and just doing whatever it takes to win.
When you look around that, what excites you the most about the direction, the organization as a whole, including the minor leagues, all the guys?
I think the culture and excitement is the best. Everybody's showing up with a great attitude every day, ready to play, and that's like, 1 through 26. You're only going to put 9 players out there at a time,
For sure.
and um it's like, okay, what are the other guys doing that are going to help the team win too? And it's just a collective effort from the staff, from the players, even the fans and the minor league guys, right? The minor league guys are helping out the big league guys by coming over to practice and doing that and giving us looks and base running for us and putting us in situations that will be put in the game with a live runner. It's hard to duplicate that with just like a stopwatch, So getting those guys, so the whole organization is pulling in the same direction, and I think that's something special that we have going.
As a hitter, what's your mindset when you step into the batter's box?
I try to keep it simple and just find a pitch that I can hit hard, and that's it. And easier said than done. But that's really my mindset. And you know what the pitcher has and what he's throwing, what he's trying to get you to do, but really just sticking to your plan and trying to keep it as simple as possible. Um, and for me, it's just hitting the ball hard, and after you hit the ball, it's out of your control, right? So, um, just keeping it simple like that, I think, is what I've taken and has helped me a lot.
What's the difference between hitting in the minors and hitting in the major leagues for you?
The big league guys, I think they're just a little more polished and sharper. The guys that have been around a lot, they know how to really pitch consistently, and so there's really no easy at bat ever. And even in the minor leagues, it's not necessarily easy, but you get guys that are a little less experienced, and so they'll either make more mistakes or they don't necessarily have as sharp a stuff, right? They're developing that kind of side of their arsenal. And so the big league guys, it's just, never easy. Can't take any pitch for granted. And sometimes they'll miss over the middle. Everyone makes mistakes, but just being ready to jump on that because those guys, they probably won't miss over the middle again, right? Stuff
Right.
like that.
Was there ever a moment, bless you, was there ever a moment that really showed you how different it is?
I wouldn't say like one single moment, but just being up there for a little while, you just see it consistently, and even last year, I was up for 3 games last year, and then I forget how many games in 2024, but I faced Scooble, and then the next day we were facing DeGrom, and I didn't face DeGrom, but it's like those are two of the best arms, um, in the league, and then you're facing them back to back days, and then you have bullpen arms that are pretty good. Um, so you just, you could get that draw, and you could also get the fifth starter, and the fifth starter for every team is still really, really good. So there's no days off, and you got to be ready every single day, and that's why kind of focusing on your own approach is so important, and keeping that consistent.
And so baseball, we all know baseball is a game of failure. Do you have any routines or ways you reset mentally when you're going through a slump?
Um, I mean, I like to work my way out of it, But yeah, just building confidence in the cage and like going back and watching all the good that you've done because everyone has ups and downs, but like when you're going down, you want to look at why you're going down instead of, hey, like remember how good you are when you're going really good. And so going back and looking at the success that you've had in the past has always helped me, and it just kind of gets you like, yeah, I can't get back to that. And it's not going to be easy, but go work your way through it, get with the coaches, figure out what you need to do.
And so we're closing out spring training right now. What part of your game are you focused on improving the most right now?
I think base running is going to be a big thing for me, just stealing more, taking those extra bases. So that'll be good. And just using that speed, whether it's an outfield or on the bases, it's going to be a good thing for me and just making sure that it's always ready. My legs are always ready to go, come off the bench, start the game, whatever. But making sure, yeah, the speed's getting put to use.
And so what does your daily work look like when you're focusing on that?
Um, I mean, it's hard to just run a bunch of sprints,
For sure.
but just making sure like every rep I'm going full speed and making it as game-like as possible. And then you can take your break in between, get your little rest. But then when you get in the game, like you've done a lot of game reps and it's not just kind of jogging in practice and then all of a sudden you got to book it in the game.
Okay, okay. So we're on the personality, more fun part of this interview. So who's the funniest guy in the Pirates clubhouse right now?
Um, I mean, I think it's Nick York. I'm around him all the time, and he just cracks me up. Just like little things that he does, he's so funny. And I get to see even a little more of it because we'll hang out outside of the field too.
If you weren't playing baseball professionally, what do you think you'd be doing?
Um, I mean, athletically, I would love to play basketball. I loved playing basketball. So if I had to pick another sport to try to pursue, definitely would have been that. But real world thing, probably finance. I like the stock market, doing all that. That was my major in college, so probably something in that. Which it's still fun to look at the market,
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of my interests outside of baseball.
Okay, so let's start with the last segment here. It's a rapid fire round. So quick answers to these questions, all right?
Okay,
All right. Favorite MLB stadium so far?
PNC for sure.
Toughest pitcher you faced?
Scooble.
Favorite pregame meal?
Um, Probably ribeye steak.
All right. Best clubhouse DJ?
Ooh, um, I don't know. I like what Mitch Keller plays. He plays some good stuff.
Okay, okay. Favorite road trip snack?
Skinny Pop.
Skinny popcorn? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you passed the quick rapid fire test. All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for your time and good luck to the season. We'll all be tuning in for you.
Yeah. Thanks again, Tyler. This was great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.